Alright, what's up guys? My name is Alex. Welcome to the first episode of the Gridiron Expert. Today we're going to start talking about the recent firing of former Oregon head coach Mark Helfrich. This year he got fired because the Ducks went 4-8, and to be honest with you, I really disagree with Oregon firing him. There's a lot of discussion in the college football world whether he should have been fired, whether he shouldn't have been fired, and the Oregon players even came out and said they did not want him fired. And to be honest with you, I agree with him. He should not have been fired at all. Let's go look back at what he did in his 4 years at Oregon. In his first year there, he went 11-2 and won the Alamo Bowl over Texas in Mack Brown's final game. The next year, he went 13-2, won the Rose Bowl over Florida State, who hadn't lost in 2 years. They didn't just beat Florida State, they destroyed Florida State. Then they went to the national title, and we all know, yes, they lost to Urban Meyer and Ohio State, but they still made it to the national championship. It's a pretty great accomplishment. The next year, they went 9-4 without Marcus Mariota. The first year without Marcus Mariota. They went to the Alamo Bowl. They did lose, however, but still, a 9-4 season is not disappointing. Then this year, obviously the 4-8 season. But honestly, what were you to expect? The Pac-12 competition increased tremendously this year. Think about it. Colorado, Washington State, Washington, USC, all these teams were the tremendous competition this year in the Pac-12. And so Oregon was kind of expected to be at the bottom. Now, 4-8, I'm sure they were not expected to do that, but they weren't expected to do that well. They didn't have that much talent. They didn't have Vernon Adams, who they had last year. Yes, we know he got hurt last year, but they didn't have that kind of quarterback to be a dual threat. That's what they relied on. So the fact that people are flipping out because they went 4-8, what were you to expect? They were going to lose a lot of games this year. 3 of their games they lost by 3 points each. They lost 3 games, each by 3. So it could have easily been a 7-win season. But people would be complaining about that. They'd be complaining about a 7-win season in Oregon, saying that was more disappointing. Guys, you're going to have a bad season. It's going to happen. Everybody's going to have a bad season. This whole Mark Helfrich situation, reminds me of Auburn with Gene Chizik a couple years ago. You know what he did? He took Cam Newton and the Auburn Tigers all the way to the national championship and won the national championship over Oregon. Now, the next year, they went 8-5, won the Chick-fil-A Bowl before it was a BCS Bowl or New Year's Six, won over Virginia convincingly, and everything was looking good. The next year, they went 3-9. As soon as that season was over, Gene Chizik was fired, and they brought in Gus Malzahn. But you've got to be kidding me. 3-9, 2 years removed from a national championship. Same thing with Mark Helfrich. He did not win the national championship, but 2 years removed from a national championship appearance, and you fired him? Are you kidding me? You have got to be kidding me. Every team is going to have a bad season. It's bound to happen. Alabama's bad season is a 10-win season. You know, I'm an Arkansas fan. 10-win season would be like a miracle. But let me tell you, if everybody's going to fire their coach after a bad season, Brett Bielema at Arkansas would be gone. Hugh Freeze would be gone after a 5-7 season. Dan Mullen would be gone now after a 5-7 season. And in Kansas would have a new coach every year. It's unbelievable how crazy college football is. It really is. I get bad seasons are very disappointing. And sometimes you're going to have a bad season when the expectations are high. But Oregon did not have that high expectations this year. They didn't. They just didn't. The competition was much stronger in the Pac-12 this season. Although Colorado was not expected to be strong, they are, and Oregon almost beat them. So, I know almost isn't good enough, but Mark Helfrich should not be fired from this job. You got to give him at least one more year. If next year he goes 4-8 or 5-7 or whatever, yes, you can fire him. But one bad season, one losing season, and you fired him, I can't believe that. That blows my mind. It should never have happened.